The first rule about opening is that you only want to be approaching the women that you're actually excited to sleep with, and that you'd also want to keep around. And this might sound kind of obvious, but so many guys are still bought into this idea that you want to approach every single girl no matter what she looks like. And while there are advantages to doing that, there's actually a number of disadvantages, and I want to talk about both so you know where I'm coming from when I deliver your rule here on how to approach chicks. So the first advantage I want you to know is that if you have a lot of approach anxiety about approaching women in general, if you approach all for a short period of time, you're going to actually gain a ton of experience very, very quickly and a lot of references that you could start a conversation with anyone, anywhere, anytime, that it doesn't matter, that people generally will be responsive and receptive, at least in the beginning, to you opening them. The second one, though, is that not only will you not have that approach anxiety, but you'll also know how to deal with a lot of different kinds of approaches. So you'll finally see that girl that you're into, and you'll be pretty well equipped and pretty confident that you know how to open that interaction, which is very, very good, and obviously that's going to be very helpful if you want to talk to her. Now, the third advantage is that you're going to be in this pretty social, confident, risk-taking, outgoing kind of mood when you're approaching all, because you've just been socializing with everyone, so you're in a good mood. And you'll finally see that girl that you like, and so you'll come off pretty charismatic, and you'll know how to interact with her, and she'll basically get sucked into your world because you're free flowing. Now, the first disadvantage is that if you got in this for a very particular kind of girl, let's say you only got in this for very pretty girls, and now you're approaching all, you're gaining so much experience and spending so much time with chicks you have no interest in being good with, and obviously that's a huge disadvantage. Like, you'll end up being this very confident social butterfly instead of the hardcore badass player who's surrounded by tons of high quality chicks, which are obviously two different people, and I think you got in there for the the badass one with all the chicks, all the hot chicks. Now, the second one is that it can be pretty easy to settle for the attention of those lesser quality girls, especially if you're new, because you're not used to female attention, and now you're getting a lot of it from chicks that are responsive to you. And even though the higher quality girls would be responsive and receptive to you too, they kind of give you that intimidating feeling. You're kind of intimidated, so you're more likely to avoid them, and you'll spend time with girls that you don't want, which again, you're getting a lot of experience with them, and you're also not pushing for the girls that you got in this for who would like you anyway. The third one is that the less attractive girls tend to be a lot harder than the more attractive girls with the model that I teach about how to build a connection, because it's based on brutal honesty, and it's very hard to look a girl who you're not into in the eyes and say, wow, I really like talking to you, if you don't like talking to her, and she's going to know you're faking it. Whereas if you say that to a girl that you actually are into and you say, wow, you know what, you are fucking in many ways like intimidatingly attractive because you're totally my type, but I love talking to you, that's going to land so well because it's genuine, and she's going to really feel that, oh my God, this guy's authentic with me. Now, the fourth one is that your self-esteem and your self-worth are going to plummet if you start seeing yourself spending all your time talking to the girls that you don't even want to talk to because you're afraid to talk to the prettier girls, and it's just because you're selling yourself out, and you're going to be like, oh man, I can't even go, fight for the things that I want. I'm a piece of shit. You're really going to, a lot of times your self-esteem really will take a hit. Now, the last one is that a lot of girls seem to be able to tell whether or not you're the kind of guy that would settle. And so if she sees that you're probably the kind of guy that would jump at anything instead of the guy who says, nope, I only want the best, then if she could tell that, then she's not going to basically want to live up to your standard, because there is no standard. So when you're the guy that says, nope, the best or nothing, that's when she wants to live up to your standard. That's when you deliver a compliment and she appreciates it. Or when you give her attention, she's like, he doesn't give this to everyone. Clearly he likes me. So if you really want to desensitize yourself from approach anxiety, or you want to learn how to deal with a lot of different types of interactions, then for sure, for a little while, definitely go approach all and get that out of the way and get what you wanted out of it. But the moment you have what you want from it, cut it off, and still the entire time be careful about the pitfalls that I just talked about. I don't want you settling for girls that you don't want, and I want you pushing for those girls that you do want. So outside of that, the general rule that I teach guys so they can get all the upside and minimize all the downside is approach only the ones that you want, but socialize with all. So you see that girl across the room, definitely that you're into, definitely go approach her, hit her up. But you're not going to do that for the girl that you don't like. Whereas if you see a girl that you don't like at the bar while you're ordering a drink, definitely talk to her. Yeah, if you see that the girl you like that you're talking to has some friends that you're not that into, by all means socialize with them, ask them how their night's going. But I don't want you sprinting across the room to talk to a girl that you're not that into, okay? So this way, if you follow that method, you get that social charismatic type of mood and that attitude and that vibe because you're socializing with everyone, but you're not going to end up settling, and you'll gain a lot of experience with the girls that you're not that into, which you need to know how to interact with them because all the girls that you like are going to have friends you're not into, but at the same time, you'll also know how to deal with the girls that you do like. And look, at this point, a lot of guys, when I teach this, they'll say, but Chris, isn't that putting a girl on a pedestal? And the answer is yes. You actually are putting her on a pedestal. And what you're basically saying is, you're better than every other girl out there. You're actually my type. I'm not into most kind of girls. And so that's putting her on a pedestal, and that's exactly what you want to do. That's what we call qualification, whereas the guys, when they talk about the pedestal, they're talking about supplication. They're talking about, like, isn't it bad to kiss her ass? That's definitely not what you want to do. I'm not advocating that at all. Do not kiss her ass and do not act like she's higher value than you. Just act like she's higher value than most girls, and that's obviously why you want her. You're not going to act oblivious, where a lot of guys say, oh, okay, so you're going to not notice a girl's hotness until the moment you're like 20 minutes in the conversation. You're like, oh my God, I just realized you're hot. That's not at all what you want to do. That's an oblivious, kind of dumbass. Like, what, you have no idea who you're talking to. You didn't notice your surroundings. But at the same time, you want to notice her, but you don't want to be coming from this frame like, oh my God, you're so much hotter than I am. You could do way better than me. It's no, I am the kind of guy that only wants the best. That's why I don't approach just any kind of girl. I'm approaching you because I'm very, very into you, and I only take the best, and you kind of come off that way. So let's see if you really are. So set a standard for the level of hotness and physical attractiveness that a girl needs to have in order for you to sleep with her, and then you're only going to approach girls that meet that standard or that exceed it, okay? And be careful not to set it so high, especially if you're first starting out, that you say, okay, I'm only going to approach 9s and 10s because there's so few out there, and you're not going to gain experience with interacting with girls, which is exactly what you need. So I would say, look, if you're first starting out, you don't have that much experience with girls in general, approach girls who are 6 or 7 out of 10, which basically means a girl who's cute or at least above average. And I would still say, always approach the girl who's the hotter one. So if you see a girl who's a 10, and then you see a girl who's a 6, always hit up the 10. I don't care if they're friends. Hit up the 10. I don't want to hear this, oh, but I wasn't ready for her. I don't have enough experience yet, because that's going to violate everything I said about you always want to believe that you're good enough, that everything you have to do and everything you want to do and say is fine. And so you're going to go for that 10, and you're going to gain experience with her, and she's your preference to begin with. So go for preference number 1 first, and then go for preference number 2. So it doesn't work with the 10? Fine, go for the 6. And from there, what you really want to do is, if you're starting at the 6, raise your standard the moment you're comfortable with them. The moment you're like, oh yeah, 6s love me, I'm kind of over them. Okay, now it's only 7s or better. And then you're going to get comfortable with the 7s, but let's say you really want to be at the 8s or 8.5s, then you're going to keep raising it and not fall below it. Okay, if you're more experienced, that last piece is for you. So start at, let's say, the 7 or the 7.5, but you really want to be at the 8s. So hit up, then you get comfortable with the 7 and 7.5s, and then you're going to only hit up the 8s, and you're not going to fall below it, because again, if you fall below it, you're going to see yourself settling, and that's not going to be very good for when you want to interact with the girls that you like. They're going to know you're kind of full of shit, and they're going to see you're kind of a settler, and you're not going to feel good about yourself to begin with. Also, keep in mind that the only reason why I'm only basing this off of looks alone is because we have no idea what her personality is yet, and right now all we know is, okay, she's hot enough to approach, so we're going to approach her. She's my type physically. Let's see if she's my type and we have good chemistry. Let's see if she's my type personality-wise. So you're going to just base it off looks for now, because that's all you have to go off of. And also, the reason why I said that you really want to just approach girls that you'd want to keep around. The reason why I said that is because a lot of people approach girls that, like, it's like my friend says, but for one night it's okay, and it's really not okay. What you really want to do is think, okay, if my friend saw me with this girl, or if or, is she hot enough that I could introduce to my family? I'd be like, wow, mom, isn't she so fucking pretty? Or your ex-girlfriend sees her and she's like, oh my God, she's so much hotter than me. And I think a lot of us, maybe it's just me, but I think it's always so cool when your ex-girlfriend who kind of fucked things up with you, now you get to look at her and be like, look, I upgraded. You sucked. You lost out. If you don't get that feeling, if you feel embarrassed about how she looks and you don't want to bring her around anyone you know, anyone that you value their opinion, do not approach her, okay? If you approach her, cut it off. So notice how many women we're actually saying no to, because that's what we actually call a selector's attitude, a selector's mentality. And now you're going to be able to vibe really well with the girls who are very selective as well, because you're going to be like, yeah, neither of us should take anyone, and you're going to see way more eye to eye and really relate to each other way better. Now, I know I said, okay, only approach the women that you're into, but I don't want you to be the guy who looks at a girl for like 20 to 30 seconds or longer and evaluates if she's hot enough to approach. Because if you do that, you're either going to fall in your head a lot of the time and not approach, or you're going to lose your opportunity altogether. So I always tell guys on my programs, look, it's not the 3-second rule. It's the 3-millisecond rule. You see the girl, you're point A, she's point B, get over there now. I want you to just draw a straight line and get over there. So this way you don't lose your chance by her getting in a cab or whatever else that would stop her. Maybe she gets brought into a club that you don't have access to, which happens a lot in New York for a lot of guys. You see a girl and she just enters the club, or she's waiting for a promoter, you take too long to approach, and then all of a sudden the promoter brings her in and you're done. So look, what I always say is if she's hot enough off first glance to approach, then you want to just go over there. And if it turns out she's not that hot, just be like, oh my God, oops, never mind, I gotta go. Or, sorry, I thought you were somebody else. Like, seriously, I do this all the time. I'll approach a girl and do that exact thing, and nothing bad ever happens. So remember, mentally draw that line and get over there. As far as openers go, I do want to give you a few things to work with. Realize that what you say does not matter that much. It's just to start the conversation. It's mostly just don't say anything stupid, and everything else is from what you do after that. So nothing stupid, nothing try-hard, nothing outlandish or weird. I'm telling you, I don't want you to be that guy who goes up to a girl, throws his hands up in the air, and I'm not even kidding, he spins around and says, look at me, I'm a tornado, or did it hurt when you fell from heaven, or your eyes look like the stars in the sky. I've heard all these, and I've even heard worse, and the only thing that hurt, in my opinion, not her falling from heaven, it's listening to that. It's so painful. It's like, dude, you have no idea how to interact with people. You have no idea how to interact with women. It's super mega try hard, low value, and if anyone laughs, they're not laughing with you. They're not like, oh, good one, bro. They're like, this guy's a clown, he's an idiot, he's not a high value guy who has a great sense of humor. Also, realize what I'm about to teach you is how to invite girls home within minutes of meeting them, and if on any level the girl looks at you and she's like, I can't relate to this guy, and we're in public, I have no idea how to relate to this guy, I have no idea how to respond to him, believe me, there's no way in hell she's going to let you bring her home, or she's going to be one-on-one, and then she definitely won't know how to relate to you, and she's just going to be, now she has people who could save her if you're really weird and that's how you're coming off. Back at your home, she's actually not going to have any idea how to relate to you or how to respond to you, and she's not going to have anyone to save her. So what I always say is, look, my openers, my go-tos, especially if you watch my infield, this is my typical stuff. Nice to meet you, I'm Chris. Or, damn, you look fucking incredible. Or, wow, look at you, you are a freaking hottie, what are your plans for tonight? And I might say that one, by the way, if I'm just trying to see the pull right off the open, because I'm just, whatever, I'm in that mood. Also, I might just say, how's your night going? That's it. Notice how it's not a big deal at all, and all these are very easy to respond to. It's just chill. It's very easy to relate to. She could come back with any sort of answer and be fine. The last thing I'm trying to do here is set off any alarms in her head, any red flags, or do anything that seems like I'm deliberately or overtly trying to get her attention in a weird way. Now, that's going to differ, as I'll talk about in a minute, about you definitely do want to get her attention, you want to come off that way, but not in a weird way. So the first thing I want to talk about right now is actually group sets. So look, when you see that girl, you're going to, even if she's with other people, open her. Do not open the entire group. Talk to her, and if the group gets involved and they look at you and they think, dude, like they're looking at you basically saying, dude, are you going to freaking acknowledge us or what? Like, what is wrong with you? definitely acknowledge them, okay? You'd be like, "Oh, awesome, my bad, I didn't even see you guys. Ah, awesome, you guys are good looking. Let me let me introduce you to my friends. You'd fucking love them." You know, anything that's just kind of assuming that you're all going to get along, or that you're all going to be hanging out and flirting, and that everything's going to be on great terms and that they like you, that's all good stuff. If you see she's with people who might come off overprotective, like family members, or she's with guys who quite often will want to get involved and be like, "Bro, get the fuck off this girl. I've been waiting 6 years for her." You know, if it's coming off that way at all, definitely gain some compliance with her where she's smiling a little bit, and then look at everyone else and be like, "Oh, you guys are the friends. Awesome. Are we all blacking out tonight? Or are you guys down to party? I'm freaking down." And just realize that's a joke. That doesn't mean you have to rip 12 shots now because you said, "Oh, are we blacking out?" It's just, are we having fun? That's all it's meant to mean. But you want to acknowledge them and be like, "Guys, are we all hanging out? Same idea," where you're communicating, "Okay, let's all have fun. We're all going to be friends here." And the last point I want to make is what I was referencing to from earlier, which is how to get a girl's attention. So a lot of guys go up and they almost take the smallest baby steps and they're being so cautious on the way over there, as if they're either trying to build up the courage or they're not trying to not alarm the girl. And what they actually end up doing is creeping her out, because like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And it just weirds her out. And the other one is they'll go up where they're trying to not attract too much attention to what they're doing, but then when they approach, they get almost no attention from the girl and they're surprised. And what they don't realize is, dude, that entire approach was pretty much oriented on not getting that much attention. If you wanted more of her attention, you should have gone for something that gets more attention. So look, nothing outlandish, but go swiftly. You see that girl, point A? I'm point A, she's point B. Get over there. And you want to basically speak loudly and demand everyone's attention. If you needed to get everyone's attention now, what would you do without doing anything weird? And you're going to maintain proper body language. Remember, shoulders back, chin back, right behind the belt line, where you're looking at her directly, you're looking directly into her eye the way I'm doing to you right now, and you're going to maintain that body language throughout the entire interaction with proper tonality, where you're speaking, you know, either to her like this, you're like, "Oh, nice, that's awesome, so that's what you do," or you're like, "Oh, no way, that's what you do, that's pretty cool," right, where one's like breaking rapport and the other one's neutral. But you're not going to be like, "Hey, oh, how's your night going?" Because that's how we talk to little kids, right? If you say that to a little girl, you're like, "Hey, did you have a nice day?" And everyone's like, if you do that to an adult, everyone thinks, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" Okay, so awesome. That's everything I have to say about opening. Good luck.